And once again, there'll be some activity in the right field bullpen for New Zealand as Paul Megan cranks and throws fastball high, 1-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. The United States team basically out of Midland, Michigan, with additions along the way, several from Seattle. Chuck Darcy, a pitcher out of Sacramento. Fly ball to straightaway center field. Russell comes in a stride or two, puts the glasses down and makes the catch. So there's 1 away as Jeff Peck flies out to center field to Alan Russell. And it'll bring up now Russ Van Zoren. He walked. Van Zoren involved in an odd play. If you'll recall, Wes, he was on first base when the following batter took that half swing to try and protect him, and the catcher threw the ball into center field when he wasn't going. He wound up on second base, but that's as far as he went.
You were talking about the makeup of this ball club. Isn't this pretty much the same team that won the national championship last year?
Right. The 1979 national champions advanced to the World Tournament this year with the addition of the pickup players along the way. Another player who might have been with this team, Ty Stofflet, considered perhaps the best pitcher in the world, out with a broken arm. And as somebody pointed out, you can't pitch at this class with a broken arm.
No. Slipped and fell on his job and broke his arm.
There's a pop-up on the third base side. The third baseman over in foul ground, Nichols, and he makes the catch. And that's the second out as Russ Van Zoren fouls out to Nichols, the New Zealand third baseman. And the batter now is Jim Wright. He's the first baseman. Jim, who made the fine play to end the New Zealand threat in the top half of this inning on the line drive hit by second baseman John Joyce. Wright popped out to the third baseman his last time up. His was the ball that the third baseman went back on and almost took out of the glove of the diving shortstop. Megan ready. The full pump and the pitch. Fastball high outside, ball 1. Wright batting .313 as he comes to the plate. This, the championship round. They've played through the qualifying round, 6 games each. There's the changeup breaking down into the dirt. It's ball 2.
If you had to more or less seed the teams in your mind, you'd have to look at these 2 ball clubs right here in Canada as the top 3 teams in the tournament.
They were the 3 coming in. They were the co-champions or tri-champions 4 years ago down in New Zealand when the rains came and called it all off, and I've not seen too much yet to change my mind this time. There's a swing and a miss. Popped the catcher's glove, and it's 2 balls, 1 strike.
So in the previous 4 world tournaments, the USA won the first 2, then it was Canada that won the third. Is that right? And then the 4th one, New Zealand, Canada, and the USA were all declared tri-champions.
Right. Pitch is high inside. They just could not finish down in New Zealand, obviously with the players having to leave work and the expenses of having them over there and away from jobs. And when the rains came and were not going to go away for a while, it became apparent they finally decided, well, that's it. They're just going to have to call it off, and the 3 at the top of the table were declared co-champions. Ball 4, it's high. So Wright draws a walk from Megan, and it'll bring up Jim Fillion, who struck out his last time. He's the shortstop. Now a conference at the mound as the catcher goes out. A couple of the infielders come up. And Fillion walks in with Nelson Cronkright, the catcher, on deck. This is Fillion, another of the many left-hand batters in the American lineup. Runner at first base, Wright, ready to go. Swing and a miss on a curveball breaking in on the hands and up around the letters. And the count is a strike. No score in the game. There, in championship rounds, can be some long ones. These teams played 20 innings, 1-0. In the last championship tournament down in New Zealand. He checked the swing on that and took it, and it's 1-1. In that game, 20 innings, Ty Stofflet and Kevin Hurley of New Zealand matched no-hitters all the way, and Stofflet finally won it by a score of 1-0. What a ball game that one must have been.
They had a double no-hitter for 19 innings.
Right. Here's a foul. He kind of plinked that one off the end of the bat and fouled it back. So the count is a ball and 2 strikes. Wes, I think that catcher back there is working without the chest protector. That an
He
appealing
is.
way to go?
Or at least he doesn't have one on the outside. Maybe he has something underneath his shirt. I think the catchers are terrific athletes catching these pitchers. With the ball sailing, rising, sinking, they do a marvelous job. And I noticed they use a first baseman's mitt. It must be a lot easier to catch the ball that way than with a regular catcher's glove.
Yeah, I think they abandoned the big, heavy catcher's mitt years ago.
And the first baseman's mitt has a bigger pocket, too, I believe.
Right. All right, here's Megan. Popped up on the right side. The second baseman getting under the ball, backpedals a bit and makes the catch, John Joyce. And so the side is retired in the bottom of the fourth. And for the United States, it is no runs, no hits, no errors, one left on the walk to Jim Wright. And at the end of 4 innings, the score is still New Zealand nothing, United States nothing, and we'll be right back. Well, as you can see, the breeze is fresh from the southwest against the blue skies, and the flags here at Cheney Stadium in Tacoma, Washington, are flying over the 5th World Fast Pitch Softball Championship, a professional baseball park that has been redesigned and reworked to make way for the softball tourney and is in excellent condition. The players have had nothing but good words for it and for the way they've been treated here, the hospitality in Tacoma, as they've been housed at the University of Puget Sound and fed there. Their families are there with them. And we are now in the 5th inning, and Owen Walford's fastball to Dennis Chain is called a strike. Chain, the left fielder. Wes, one of your old friends came from Tacoma, Washington, and played some baseball.
Yes, Ron Say of the Dodgers.
Here's the ball popped up in the air now. Second baseman gets under it, makes the catch, Jack Starling, and there's quickly one away in the 5th inning as Dennis Chain pops out to Starling, the second baseman. That brings up Terry Nuns. Yeah, Ron Say played a lot of baseball and football and softball, and I guess any other kind of game that was to be played.
Well, he told me how pretty it is up here, and I've got to agree with him. It's so much greener than California.
Well, I'll tell you, the times of the year it's greener than almost anywhere. Eh? We get moss growing on us up here sometimes. Here's a ground ball. Oh, great leaping stop by the third baseman. Throws him out at first. Fine play by Jeff Peck at third base. Terry Nuns hit the ball hard. Big bounce. And Jeff Peck, the third baseman, fully extended in that leap upward to spear the ball in his glove. Wes, watch this.
Well, we've seen earlier where a ground ball will hit into that dirt and bounce over the third baseman's head. This time he just gets up so high he makes a super leaping play and has plenty of time to throw him out because he's in so close.
Well, you were talking about the Penguin. That looks like one of his plays.
The only thing is the Penguin's too short to make that one.
He couldn't get up to that one, huh? All right, the batter is Paul Rogers now. Rogers, the shortstop. He struck out his last time up. In fact, he was the first strikeout victim for Owen Walford, who now has 4 in the game. Tried to check the swing that time, and I think he made contact with the ball, and it should go to 1-1. Scoreboard holding back until they were sure. Rogers batting 133. The Fog looks for his sign from his catcher, Nelson Cronkright. He has it. Popped up behind the plate. Cronkright will give it a try, but he can't get that far back. You see the backstop that has been moved in there because the distance from home plate to the grandstand here was much more than the legal requirement for fast pitch softball. So the University of Puget Sound also loaned the tournament committee headed by Mike Keim that backstop and fencing for behind the plate. Well, he looked at that when the catcher Cronkright thought they had it, but the umpire didn't. You could tell Wes Cronkite was bouncing up and down. He's one to throw the ball to somebody.
Well, you know, he caught that ball with his glove moving down into it. If he'd brought the glove up underneath and lifted the ball up, he might have gotten it.
Sometimes you can talk the arbiter out of one. Well, he got it on that one. The fastball for strike 3. Rogers is gone. And in the inning, no runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left. And so at the end of 4 1/2 now here at Cheney Stadium in Tacoma in the World Fast Pitch Softball Tournament, it is New Zealand nothing and the United States nothing. Well, not very long now till the college football season gets underway. As a matter of fact, the first big games will come on the weekend of September the 6th. Bud Wilkinson will join Jim Simpson for some of the great games involving teams like Alabama, Ohio State, Florida State. You'll be seeing those games early in the season. Outstanding television crews around the country will be covering all the great action of college football, and the best seat in the house for those top games each week, yours if you're a member of the ESPN team. So join us for college football starting the week of September 6th. Well, Wes Parker, we are now past the midway point of this ball game without anybody scoring a run. Pitching seems to be pretty much taking control of it, isn't it?
I think they ought to move the mound back another 3 feet. I'll tell you, from what I've seen, these pitchers are awesome. They're just a little bit too tough right now. They're overpowering the hitters. We have had some high-scoring games in this tournament, but they were mainly against the teams that have already been eliminated and were not too strong to begin with. You get 2 good clubs up against each other, and it's very, very difficult to score. A lot of the games are 1-0, 2-1.
Some years ago, when Seattle was in the Pacific Coast League, they signed one of the better softball pitchers, fast pitch softball pitchers, to pitch professional baseball. And while he had some control troubles pitching from that distance, when he got the ball over the plate, not many people hit him with a baseball bat either.
What was his name? Do you remember?
Bob Fessler.
Bob Fessler.
And he could stand out there and he could wing it pretty well.
Boy, he must have had a strong arm to be able to pitch both underhand and overhand. That's just not easy to be that versatile.
No, he pitched an underhand on the baseball diamond.
Oh, he did?
And he struck him out.
No kidding. Well,
yes,
and a smaller ball, too.
Yeah, right. With a small ball, he really wheeled it. Bottom of the 5th inning, the United States at bat. Nelson Cronkite, the catcher. Jack Starling will follow. Then to the top of the order for Rod Johnson, who has been hitting in the 400 brackets through the tournament and maybe about due to break out of one. If there's anybody on base ahead of him, it could be an important one for the United States. Paul Megan ready. The right-hander wheels and fires the fastball for a called strike. It's 2 balls and 1 strike. Well, everything has been ideal for the tournament here in Tacoma, and the weather particularly has just been outstanding. There's a low fly ball into center field. Hard charging center fielder can't get to it. It's in for a base hit. There goes Cronkite sliding to second base, drawing no throw, however. And he's on with, now they are going to a hit. They put the error sign up first on the scoreboard. Cronkite appears to be shaken up.
He hurt himself sliding, Bob. He apparently hit that bag with his foot.
It's unfortunate, too, because he did not need to slide. There was no throw, but watch again as he goes into second base. The center fielder coming in for the ball, that's Russell. He tried for the shoestring catch, got his glove to the ball, perhaps should have made the catch, but didn't. Rolls over now, and as a result of that, there's no throw to second base. And sliding in at second base, Nelson Cronkite. The other outfielder holds the ball. Cronkite goes sliding in and immediately calls for time. It looks like he jammed that right leg. He
slid very hard into that bag or into the area of second base, and either jammed his ankle up against the bag or perhaps his spikes caught somewhere on that dirt.
It was not what you'd call the classic slide going in. I think at first he was planning to slide. It almost looked as if when he realized there was no throw, he changed his mind, and he didn't get it totally changed.
You've got to be so careful that once you make up your mind to slide, you should go through with it no matter what, because you get in between like that and try and hold up, and that's exactly what will happen. You'll hurt yourself.
Well, fortunately, Nelson Cronkite appears to be all right. The batter will be Jack Starling, and now the strategy boards will go to work because Rod Johnson, the leadoff man with the 400 batting average, will follow Starling. So do you now bunt Cronkite, try to get him over to third base with Starling?
Absolutely, he will bunt. At least that's what I've seen up until now in all of these ball games. They get a runner on second with nobody out, and they immediately try to bunt him to third. Then they try to get that fly ball or some chopper in the infield where he can score.
Well, I would say if you and the first and third baseman all had a vote, it's 3-0 in favor that he's going to bunt.
Okay.
They have moved right up on top of the plate now.
Oh, it's amazing. They are halfway between the bags, or the respective bags and the plate.
All right, here's Megan ready now for the pitch. He squared the bunt but took the fastball. Called strike. Starling indicating with the handle of the bat that he thought it was inside. Cronkite still holding there at second base.
Well, the shot before, we could see where the first and third basemen were, and with them in that close, if I was the hitter, I'd try and bunt that ball hard right past them. I think that's about all you can do.
On a harder diamond, a lot of players will try to chop it over their heads with a big bounce. It's even more effective. Here it is. He bunts the ball, but in the air, speared by the first baseman one-handed. Peter Hartley, the New Zealand first baseman, in close. And if you don't get that ball on the ground, of course, you do lose all the effect of the bunt. And that time, the ball popped to the first baseman. Hartley speared it in the glove, and there's one away without advancing the runner. The batter, Rod Johnson. Well, Rod's capable of getting a run home from second base.
You know, you've got to give a lot of credit to the pitcher right there, Megan, who just threw such a good rising fastball that he could not bunt it on the ground.
Here's Megan ready again to Johnson. He fouls it off to the left side. Ball against the screen, and it's one strike. Johnson had a terrible start, quite frankly, in the tournament. He had one hit his first 10 times up, and then he went on a real tear and was very productive for the U.S. team and helping them continue winning, and got his batting average up to around the 400 level. In fact, it's an even 400 right now.
He's a fine hitter. He hit .327 during the regular season for this ball club. And anything over 300 is like 380 or 390 in a hard pitch league, or a hardball league. It's just a tremendous batting average.
All right, Rod is ready at the plate. Megan ready in the pitcher's box. Here comes the pitch, the full windmill. It's a fastball. It's down low. It's 1-1. Catcher thought it was in the strike zone. And so far, they've not put it up on the scoreboard. There it goes now. As nobody upstairs was sure whether the umpire had perhaps called that a strike from the catcher's reaction. But he had not. He did not come up with the right arm, which is the indicator. So now the 1-1 pitch with a runner at second base and one out. A hard shot through the hole, the right field base hit. The ball popped away from the right fielder. Here comes Cronkite to score from second base, and down to second, standing up, goes Rod Johnson.
Boy, was that a clutch base hit? Were you right about this guy? What a hitter he is.
Oh, he really is. He's all athlete, Rod Johnson. If there's a superstar on this team, that's the guy. That's
the first chance the USA had to score a run, and right away they cash in on it. What a clutch hit.
So Cronkite drives it on through. They will call it a single and an error on the right fielder, rightly so.
Let's look at it again. It's another riser, and he apparently was looking for it because he got his bat out and on top of it and just drilled it through that hole. Now, if he comes up with this ball, the right fielder, he might have a shot, but I think it hit the grass, the edge of the dirt in the grass, and popped up on him.
Yeah, I think that's where he had the trouble back there. They did charge him with an error on the play, and so no run batted in then for Rod Johnson, but although we may check that, they may decide that since the runner kept on running, never looked back, they might give him the RBI.
I would have given it to him. That's a tough play.
But there was an error. It'll be a single and an error. Johnson is camped at second base, still with one out, and the United States now has taken a 1-0 lead.
Which is almost insurmountable.
Oh, I'll tell you, especially this late in the game. In a 7-inning game, we're down into the very late innings right now. The batter is Barry Cashin. Had a notion of that, checked his swing and paid for it by taking a called strike, a rising fastball. Cashin, the designated hitter, has a single in 2 trips. Johnson there in the background at second base. And here's Paul Megan from our center field camera. Megan ready to pitch to the left-hand batter. Changed up, it's outside. Catcher breaks out towards the third base side. The shortstop again going over to cover as third baseman Wayne Nichols was well up along the line. Paul Rogers, the New Zealand shortstop, broke over to cover the bag at third just in case Rod Johnson should go.
I noticed the USA has a couple of players warming up down in the bullpen. It could be that they're going to bring in some defensive replacements next inning.
That's very possible now that they have that run. Here's the pitch, high foul coming back to the left into the screen below us. Now the count is a ball and 2 strikes. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Batter Barry Cashin.
know, Megan's obviously a good pitcher, Bob, and he's been throwing hard, but if I had one criticism to make about him, it's that he's throwing so many rising fastballs, I think the hitters are starting to guess with him, and he's not keeping them honest with a lot of sinkers, or mixing in a sinker once in a while.
Well, Megan looks to his catcher for the sign. He's into that cranking windup again. Here it comes. Fastball. A catcher again thought they had strike three. Came out from behind the plate, and umpire says no, it's 2-2.
I think he was just trying to do a number on the umpire's mind. See, you know, a little head trip there. Run towards the dugout.
Yeah, tell him it sounded good. But they couldn't steal that one. The Kiwis of New Zealand. Here's the windup by Paul Megan. The 2-2 delivery. Fastball a little high, and it's ball 3. Count goes to 3-2. The runner at second base is Rod Johnson, who singled to right field with Nelson Cronkite at second base. Cronkite raced home as the right fielder bobbled the ball. A pop-up. Shortstop says, I've got it. Backpedals all to the dirt, and it dropped the ball. He lost it, and the ball got away. So it'll be an error to the shortstop, but Johnson, who had retreated to second base on the pop-up, is not able to advance, and the USA has runners at first and second, as Paul Rogers, the shortstop, called confidently for the ball, and then suddenly found it wasn't where he thought it was, and backpedaled onto the cutaway dirt and fell down, and the ball eluded him.
It may not hurt them because the runner on second, Rod Johnson, did not advance. He could not advance naturally because he thought the ball would be caught. It's just going to make it harder for the pitcher now, Megan, to get the 2 outs and get the side retired and get out of this inning.
Yeah, he had 2 out if that ball is caught, and then all he has to do is get 1 more. And now it would appear we have a change coming here for the United States, as Bruce Miller is coming in to bat for Stewart. Bruce Miller is going to bat for Bill Stewart, who has been playing in right field.
Well, you almost wonder why Bruce Miller didn't start, because he is the fellow who led this club in hitting during the season. He hit .359, and you can see from what we've already seen here in this ball game just how hard it is to get a base hit. Can you imagine hitting .359 over a full season of about 40, 50, 60 games? That's excellent hitting.
I have a report that Stewart has a bad leg. Apparently he's pulled a... Oh, Miller has. That's why he didn't start. I'm sorry. Miller has a bad leg. Apparently he's just hitting for Stewart. The fastball a little high, ball 1. Under the substitution rules of fast pitch, of course, Miller can come in for Stewart. Stewart can, as a starter, come back to the game 1 time as long as he remains in the same position in the batting order. So Bill Miller, who has a bad leg and is not playing defensively, is now batting for Bill Stewart, who is playing in right field. But look for Stewart to come on back. Here's the pitch outside. Ball 2.
Now, he cannot afford to give up a walk here. Then he moves the other runners up, and you have that runner at third base who could score on an out.
Yeah, then that drop pop fly really looms large.
Then it would be big. You can't afford to give up 2 runs. That's just too many, especially as you mentioned this late in the game, Bob.
3 hits apiece in the ball game so far, but the New Zealanders have made 3 errors, which is not like them at all. Well, Miller ready at the plate. Points the bat straight up. Here's the pitch. He hits a fly ball to center field. Johnson's going back to tag up at second base. The catch made by Russell. There goes Johnson for third. The throw is cut off, and they can't hang the runner up because there's nobody covering first. And Johnson winds up on third base, and back to first goes Barry Cashin as Miller flies out to Russell in center field. Saw a bit of daring do on the bases there by Rod Johnson, who figured that he could make the 60 feet to third base against the arm of center fielder Alan Russell, and he did.
Well, it's not a bad idea because he did have about a 50-50 shot at it, and if the throw happens to hit him in the back and bounce off someplace, he'll score.
Now watch him. He saw where the fly ball was hit. He goes back, tags up, watches for the catch, and there he goes. And when Russell makes the catch, he throws to the shortstop, who cuts it off. They wanted to try and trap the runner off first base, but there was nobody behind Cashin, and he just retreated to the bag. Here's Jeff Peck, who has flied out to the outfield twice. They're making an appeal play at second base. And I would have to say, Wes, from looking at the replays, they didn't have a chance.
No. The thing I liked about it was that he was in line with the center fielder's throw to some extent, and And there was a chance that that ball could have hit him or bounced off some way, and they could have gotten the extra run. I think really that New Zealand was smart to cut the throw off and not take a chance.
All right, here comes the pitch to Peck now. He squares around to bunt. There goes the runner for second base. They bluff a throw through, and no throw, and down to second base goes Barry Cashin. The pitch was called a strike. Cashin winds up with a stolen base, and with no throw through to second base, Rod Johnson stays at third. First base is now open. But with 2 out, chances are that Megan would just go ahead and pitch to the man at the plate. Johnson at third base. Cashin at first. Hard line drive caught by the first baseman. I guess he trapped it. He came up with it, runs to the bag, and Peck is out. So a sharp shot at the first baseman. He trapped it, short hopped it. That is Peter Hartley, and ran to the bag. But in the bottom of the 5th inning, the United States comes up with that one big one, 1 run on 2 hits. There were 2 errors in the inning for New Zealand, and 2 men left on. At the end of 5, the United States leads New Zealand 1-0. We'll be right back. Well, we're back at Cheney Stadium in Tacoma, Washington, under brilliant summery blue skies. The World Fast Pitch Softball Championship continuing. The United States leading New Zealand 1-0 as we go to the 6th inning. Wes?
Well, I'm just amazed that because Wolford, you know, is from New Zealand, as we mentioned, and he's just doing an outstanding job. Big man, 6'2", 185 pounds, 30 years old, and he really has accomplished so much as a pitcher. It's just his statistics go on and on and on, but he pretty much led this ball club to the national championship last year, and he very well may do it again this year.
Well, it's Owen Walford. They call him the Fog on the pitching rubber now. Peter Hartley, the leadoff man for New Zealand here in the 6th inning. Ground ball through the middle, backhanded by Starling. Throw to first. He's out, 1 away.
Good play.
That was almost the same spot where Hartley got his base hit to lead off the game, back through the middle, but that time Starling came up with the ball and threw him out over to first base to Jim Wright. Here it is again.
It's not that easy a play because they're playing in so close. The ball is hit sharply, and he just goes over and makes a nice backhanded stop and throws him out.
And that 12-inch ball is not that easy to pick up backhanded on the run like that. It's a little harder to handle than you might think. The batter now is Wayne Nichols. Again, the first and third baseman have moved in. Called strike on a rising fastball again by Owen Walford.
The fog is starting to fog the ball, that is for sure. He's throwing hard.
And down in the left field bullpen for the USA, Chuck Darcy begins to warm up. Also action for New Zealand. The pitch is down low.
I would imagine at this point, Bob, too, a pitcher really starts to smell that victory and goes after like a horse returning to the corral.
Well, it's so important in this spot because the loser of this, while still in the tournament, has to go through the consolation round, and that could be a long and dangerous route. Called strike on the outside corner. A ball and 2 strikes now to Wayne Nichols.
I know about those consolation rounds. That's where you play about twice as many games as the teams that aren't in there.
That's right. You play late at night and early in the morning and double headers. And your pitchers are tired and everybody's leg weary. That's a tough way to go. Foul tip held by the catcher Cronkite, and that is strike 3. Nichols is out on strikes, and so 2 away now in the top half of the 6th inning. And the batter is John Lowes, the designated hitter. He's 1 for 2. He singled in the 4th inning after hitting into a force play in the 1st. The pitcher warming up for New Zealand in the right field bullpen is John Dawson. Down in the bullpen in left, Chuck Darcy of the United States warming up, throwing to Butch Batt. All right, here's the wind now by Owen Walford. The fog delivers. Fastball low and away. Ball 1. Lowe's hitting an even 300. looking for something that he can hit right now to get something started for his New Zealand team, even with 2 out in this inning. Pops it up in foul ground to the left. Third baseman after it, and he'll make the catch. Jeff Peck almost to the stands to gather that one for the 3rd out.